today?
No, you look like a shadow of your former self, Anayat.
We're almost live, right?
Yeah,
we're
we are now going live.
Yeah, literally.
Right, good evening. Sorry for the late start. We had a few technical difficulties. And welcome to the Policy and Governance meeting, 6th of April. This is the last P&G meeting of the current civic year, I do believe. And it is quite a big agenda this evening. Can I ask Councillor Curtis, did you get the agenda with everything on it so you could read everything that's going on tonight?
No.
Oh, because it did get resent out this morning. There were a few technical difficulties.
No, I've not got it yet, no.
Right. Well, it's a 20-item agenda.
Right.
Councillor Adams, Deputy Mayor.
I'll read it now. Did you get Councillor Anayat?
Yeah, I've got it. Yeah, I've looked through it. Yeah.
Okay.
Councillor Curtis now then.
Right. You should be getting it through now, Councillor Curtis.
Right.
Right. We will start.
There's a, sorry, Chair, you say it's a long agenda, but there's a lot just noting, isn't there, really?
There's quite a bit for noting, yes, but there's one from item 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 are all for decision.
Yeah, okay.
There's more for decision than for noting.
All right. Okay.
Right, so welcomes and introductions. The protocols are, we should know them by now. If councillors have got a question, can you raise your hand? Councillors will be muted, apart from myself and the Deputy Assistant Town Clerk. It does say Joe Cooney, but I assure you that is Pip Gibson, for anybody that's watching on YouTube. Apologies for absence. Do we have any?
We do. We've got Councillor Dowse and Councillors Martin Walker.
Okay, Councillor Dowse is actually in another meeting, I do believe. And I believe Councillor Walker's at the vets.
That's correct.
Okay. Do we accept those apologies? Councillor Naik, yeah, all right, all in favour of accepting? Unanimous. Declaration of interest under the Localism Act 2011, Section 32, relevant authorities. Any members disclosure of interest? Officers?
No.
Right. Public question time, unless anybody's sat under the table. I can't see any members of the public. Has any written questions come in?
There aren't.
Minutes for decision. Members are asked to approve the minutes of the meeting of the Policy and Governance meeting held on Tuesday, the 2nd of March. Has council have seen those minutes? Are we agreed they are reflection of true minutes of the meeting? Who would like to propose? Councillor Adams, Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Curtis. All in favour? Thank you. Progress report for noting. Progress report on decisions taken at the meeting on the 3rd of March. Members approved the continuation of live streaming council meetings for the remainder of the municipal year. That's the update, is it's continued. Recommend amendments to standing orders went to full council on 25th of March. We deferred an item, similar item will be on the full council. That was noted. That was item number 15, I believe. On the it's 0115 council attendances. It did go back to council. It's been resolved by council. It's been put to bed now, so we're all happy with that one being put to bed. Right, good. There's no more on the progress report. You've all seen it. It's just for noting. So can we have it, Councillor Anayat Mohammed? Can you unmute yourself, please? And I'm good at lip reading.
Thank you, Chair. Just wanted to ask what the thinking is or direction is around these remote meetings, given the government's, disclosure somewhat yesterday in terms of going forward. So, is there any clarity around that, or is the council going to announce something at full council? Sorry, yeah.
I'm going to bring the deputy mayor in on that one.
Yeah, just to say that legislation was the created legislation up until the 7th of May this year for remote meetings, but this isn't going to be progressed after the 7th of May. So meetings will all be held in-house. The only one that we did have between the 7th of May and the 20th of May was planning on the 11th of May, which we would have realistically to social distance, and just in case any members of the public came, we would have had to have it in the hall, but the hall is already booked out. So that meeting is going to be cancelled, and the town clerk will use his discretionary powers to answer some things on it, and the things we can move, we will move either to the meeting before or the meeting after, depending on dates. So our first actual public meeting will be in the hall on the 20th of May. And the reason it's in the hall is because there's more room to social distance. We're not able to social distance quite as easily in the chamber.
And that will be the annual town council meeting.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
So we're going back to face to face.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Town plan, number 7, town plan for noting. Consider the attached report from the assistant town clerk and CDO regarding the town plan. Do you want to say anything on that, assistant town clerk?
Thank you. Just basically to say that there are 2 columns. There's the first column, which is for this year that we're in now, the 2021-22, and then the one that's at the side is just so that you've got a record of the things that you've achieved as a committee for those key objectives.
Right. What I noticed on this, and I don't know if other councils noticed it, it says for noting, but there's actually a recommendation on it. So it should be for decision rather than recommendation. Wherever it says there's a recommendation from the office or the staff, town clerk, etc., or assistant town clerk, it should be for decision. So there's a recommendation. The recommendation is that members use the information to make decisions and allocate funding where applicable with specific reference to the committee's areas of responsibility within the town plan. That's a recommendation that I would go with. I would propose we go with the officer's recommendation, but do I have a seconder on that? Councillor Adams, Deputy Mayor, all in favour?
Mhm.
Right. So can you note that, Assistant Town Clerk, that it was there's been a recommendation, and we are going with the office's recommendation.
Thank you.
Press release update for noting. Once again, we have a recommendation that members note the report and members request the next update at their June committee meeting. I propose we accept the officer's recommendation, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. All in favour? Any questions on that press release update? It's just basically an update on the last one. Right, thank you. Resident survey. Item 9. Members, and this is another recommendation, although it says, oh no, this is for decision. For decision, to seek members' views undertaking a resident survey in May. It should be May 2021, I think. This, not 2020. Have you noted that, Pip?
Yeah.
Right. Members consider a draft resident survey outlined in Appendix A of this report. You haven't had a copy of this, have you, Councillor Curtis? well, it's quite lengthy. These, it's considered draft residential survey. Members authorised the town clerk to undertake the resident survey in May 2021 and the results to be reported back to the committee as and when appropriate. And it's to provide oversight to the resident survey. That's the recommendation. Summary of key points. It is important for the town council to understand and respond to the needs of its local residents. Over the last few months, the council, under the supervision of the committee, has aimed to be more outward facing by telling residents what the council has been doing. The council has started an e-newsletter which will be developing into a quarterly update, regular social media posts and press releases to promote the council. The town plan has now completed its first year and seems to an opportune moment to get feedback from the residents, whether it's positive or negative. The local council's quality award scheme, which the council is currently applying for, requires evidence of consultation with residents and the activities. The draft 14 questions. Now the 14 questions are, I'll go through them because Councillor Curtis hasn't got them. Are you aware of the services functions undertaken by Keighley Town Council? In the last 12 months, have you had any contact with the council? On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being impressed and 1 not impressed, what's your overall position, view of the last 12 months? If yes, which social media have you seen the post on? Are you aware the town council organise annual events? It's just basically asking people, have they heard of Keighley Town Council and they know what we're doing on those? Do I have any questions on that? Or are we going to take the recommendation that we consider a draft resident survey and authorise the town clerk to undertake a resident survey in May 2021? Deputy Mayor.
I think it's good in part, but the further I get to the end of it, the more I see it as an exercise to get people to hire the civic centre, if I'm quite honest. It's like one of those surveys that you get on Facebook when it says, how likely are you to buy this product and how likely are you to buy that? Because coming towards the end, it's do you know the city has a bar and a kitchen, and then on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being very likely, would you consider it as a possible venue?
Yeah.
Future events, and it's almost like we're selling the civic centre, not the council.
Yeah, it is really, yeah.
So I think it needs rejigging a little bit, I'm sorry, and focusing on the council as a whole.
Yeah, well, for the purpose of Councillor Curtis, most of the questions are asking, have you heard about council services? But then, like the Deputy Mayor says, question 11, did you know the Civic Centre on North Street has a bar, a kitchen and a function room available for hire? Yes or no? And then the next question after it, on a scale of 1 to 10, being very likely, how likely are you to consider the Civic Centre as a possible venue? Do we really need them 2 questions in there?
We need, sorry, Chair, through you.
It's okay, I've thrown it open.
The question, did you know we had a kitchen and everything? Yes, fine, but let's not make ourselves look tacky, shall we?
Because number 11 just says, at least when they've seen number 11, they can see it's a function room for hire.
Yes.
Right, so we don't really need question 12 thrown into the mix. So if we take question 12 out, are we happy with that?
I think we also need to take question 13 out. If you were less than 5 on the previous answer, what would be?
Yeah, 13
out the civic centre hire?
Yeah,
I mean, you could keep question 14 and make
question 12 and 13 out.
Yeah, take question 12 and 13 out and make question 14 number 12, which is there anything else you'd like to comment about regarding the town council? So that's taking it back to the council.
Right, so the recommendation now, we've considered a draft resident survey and we've made amendments to it, taking question 12 and 13 out, and do we authorise the town clerk to undertake the resident survey in May 2021? I will propose that we do. Do I have a seconder? All in favour? That's of them both that we accept it with the amendments. Thank you. Where am I to now?
10.
Correct.
Can I-
You are muted.
Councillor Curtis, you should have got the email now. And it's got it all on. So.
Right, good. Corporate governance statement number 10. Right. Number 10. It's quite a lengthy document, but I seem to have it twice. That's why it's about 50 pages. The purpose to review the progress against the corporate governance action plan for 2021 and to consider the governance statement and action plan for 2022 and make a recommendation to council. I've looked through these. There's not a big difference in them both. I don't know whether you agree with that, Assistant Town Clerk.
If I'm completely honest, I've not compared the two. Joe's pulled this agenda pack together, so apologies on that.
Yeah,
Chair.
there's not a great deal of difference in them, apart from one's got a nice bright coloured line at top and one hasn't. Members note the progress made against action plan for 2021. And members recommend the corporate governance statement and action plan to council for 2021-22. That would be in May. Have you managed to read these, Councillor Deputy Mayor and Councillor Mohammed? I know Councillor Curtis won't have time to read them all, but I think reading what he's saying there whilst he's muted, he's had a quick flick through it. I would like to recommend that these go to full council in May. I have a proposal. Councillor Curtis proposing. All in favour? Employee code of conduct for decision. Now, people may ask why this has come to P&G rather than HR. It's because the P&G deals with all the policies and the governance of council, and we can recommend to HR. Have you read the Employees Code of Conduct? Right, it's to review the Employees Code of Conduct and recommend any amendments of the policy to full council. Members recommend the amended Employee Code of Conduct. Members review the policy in 2022 unless any material changes to the policy are required before that date. Now, what I'm looking on this is we seem to be doing something like this every year. And I would say members review the policy 2023 unless material changes are required before that date. Rather than us going through every year with this and having to go through it at different committees about the Employees Code of Conduct. If there's necessary changes, yes, we would review it, but I would like to review it in 2023. I'd like to propose that. Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Curtis. Do we all agree that members review the policy in 2023 unless material changes to the policy are required before that date? All in. Councillor Anayat Mahmood, would you like to speak? Mohammed, sorry.
Yeah. Why 2023, Chair?
Well, if there's no
Yeah,
if
sorry.
there's no material changes.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, I understand your point, and it's a good one where if there's no material changes, but I view this very similar to the members' handbook, for example. And I mean, what I would suggest, unless people feel strongly, is we have that annually. But if there's any changes, then it comes to us to review it. If there's no changes, then, you know, there's no point us having a look at it, really. Or is there?
That's basically what I'm saying. If we review it in 23, if this changes, then it'll come to us to be reviewed. But if there's no changes, we could just review it at this before we finish this civic term. You know, the 4-year cycle, which finishes in 2023. It
Right.
could be looked at by the last P&G committee of like this in 2 years' time. When we meet in April in 2 years' time,
Makes sense, Chair. Sorry, yeah.
and then pass to the new council coming in. That's the way I was looking at it.
That's right, yeah. We could do that at the end of every kind of,
Yeah, but
Yeah.
if there's nothing to review,
yeah, exactly.
there's no point reviewing for the sake of reviewing. So I still like to propose that we review it in 2022.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Councillor Anayat Mohammed. All in favour?
Sorry, can I just say, did you say that you're still recommending it to be reviewed in 2022 and not
No. 2023.
Yeah, it's just that you said 2022.
Sorry, 2023. It's all these twos are confusing me. Right, so that one's to bed. There's that much paperwork here, I could have made a tree out of this. Item 12, Freedom of Information Policy. For decision to consider the attached report from the town clerk, to review the council's freedom of information policy and to recommend any amendments to full council of the policy to full council. Members recommend the freedom of information policy to full council for approval. Members review the policy in 2023 unless material changes to the policy are required before that date. I propose recommendation to full council. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Anayat Mohammed. All in favour? Item 13, publication scheme. To review the council's publication scheme, to recommend any amendments to the scheme once again to full council. Members recommend the publication scheme to full council. Members review the policy in 2022 unless any material changes to the policy are required before that date. Once again, I'd say 2023. And with those amendments, I would like to propose that's passed to council, and the only amendment would be review the policy in 2023 unless any material changes to the policy are required before that date. I propose. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Curtis. Thank you. All in favour? Loan working policy. I'll have to wait for Councillor Curtis coming back because we were in coordinate for a second. To review the council's loan working policy, recommend any amendments to full council. Members recommend the loan working policy to full council, and members review the policy in 2023. Somebody's playing tricks here. Some of them are saying 2022 and some are 2023, but this says 2023 unless any material changes. I take it this has actually been looked through by the office and HR as well. Right. So with that in mind, once again, I'd like to propose recommendation to council. The loan working policy, a seconded by Councillor Curtis. All in favour? Carried. Training policy, item 15. Is this for decision as well? It says statement of intent for training, but this is the training policy. So is it a statement of intent or is it a policy, Assistant Town Clerk?
1 second. It's a training policy. It's entitled training policy.
On the agenda, it says statement of intent for training.
It does.
Can the agenda be changed? Please. Well, normally you can't change an agenda item, but it can be noted that item 15 should say training policy and not statement of intent for training. That's for public record. Right, to review the council's training policy and recommend any amendments to the policy to full council. Members recommend the training policy to full council, and members review the policy in 2023 unless material changes again. I take it councillors have read the training policy. Yes. I propose recommendation to council. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Mohammed, all in favour? Carried. Volunteering policy. This has been around for quite a long time, the volunteering policy, but it's good that it's actually been re-looked at, revisited. It's to review the volunteering policy and recommend any amendments to the full policy to full council. Members recommend the volunteering policy to full council. Members review the policy in 2024. Now, as a committee, we can't do that because our full term as councillors finish in 2023. So legally, we can't ask for something to be reviewed the following year. That's up to the 2023 committee and not the 2024 committee. So I would like this to be reviewed in 2023, unless material changes to the policy are required before that date. And the reasons are, we can't say from 2023 what's going to go on in 2024. So with those changes, I'll propose this goes to full council again. And do I have a seconder? Councillor Curtis, all in favour? Thank you. Item 17, security incident policy. To review the security incident policy. Have councillors read this? It's quite a big document, really, with a lot of personal breach websites to have a look at and things like that. But once again, it's the purpose is to review the security incident policy, to recommend the amendments of the policy to full council, and recommend the incident policy to full council and review again in 2023 unless material changes. This time I'll ask for somebody else to, if anybody else wants to propose this. Councillor Mohammed, any seconder? Councillor Adams, all in favour? Come in, Councillor Mohammed.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Just a point about what you just said. In relation to these are heavy documents, and there's, it's quite detailed, and that detail behind it has references and also research in relation to, security documents like this that are generally available. So, I mean, I just want to put on record that we are supporting it and sending it on to full council, but we are in the main dependent on the office to have crossed the T's and dotted the I's.
Yes.
Because for us, it's physically impossible to do all the things that I've just said in relation to, go through the document with detail, then go behind that detail and then get cross-referenced and all that. Yeah. So I think we're accepting this as a general document that has been checked thoroughly by the office, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's why I think they've all come as independent reports. I agree with you saying there, and just for members of the public that actually watching on YouTube, all the items we've gone through from item 10 or item 9 onwards have been reports by the town clerk or the assistant town clerk in conjunction with each other and other members of office staff. So thank you for bringing that, Councillor Mohammed.
Just to say, Chair, that as committee members, we do look at the documentation.
Yes.
If anything jumps up at us, like the 2023, for example, point you made, which was a very good one, everything seems to be in order, really.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Have we've gone through this, we've had a proposal and a second, and we've had all in favour on that one, have we, Assistant Town Clerk? We've gone through the vote. Yes, we have. Thank you. Got to reach right across the table now. for the heavy ones, item 18. Once again, report by the town clerk. It's the approved suppliers policy. It's to review the council of approved suppliers policy and associated application form and to recommend any amendments to full council. Members recommend the approved suppliers policy to full council and review in 2023 unless material changes to the policy are required before that date. Can I just say on this, for once again, anybody watching who's not familiar with the council, we are not approving, this committee are approving the suppliers. We're approving the suppliers application form. That's all we do as a committee. We look at the application form, make sure everything's correct on it, and it don't fall foul of any financial regulations or breaking any 1972 Local Government Act. So on that, are we going to review the policy again in 2023 unless material changes and approve the policy to full council? Do I have a proposal? I think Councillor Adams, the Deputy Mayor, is proposing. Councillors Curtis is seconding. All in favour? Are you in favour of that, Deputy Mayor? Thank you. Item 19, another report, is the anti-fraud and corruption policy. To review our anti-fraud and corruption policy in great detail and recommend any amendments to the full policy to council. Members recommend the anti-fraud and corruption policy to full council and review once again in 2023 unless there's material changes that are required before that date. There's nothing glaring jumping out at me on this. Reporting arrangement, detection, investigation, money laundering, email scams, the usual things you could get fraud with and corruption. I'm proposing this goes to full council for adoption. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Adams, the Deputy Mayor. All in favour? And item 20, gifts and hospitality policy. To review the council's gifts and hospitality policy, to recommend any amendments of the policy to full council, to note the register of gifts and hospitality received during the financial year 2021. 2021, yeah. Members recommend the gifts and hospitality to full council for approval. Members note the gifts and hospitality register for 2021. Members note the register will be published on the council website once approved by full council. And members review in, it says 2022, but once again, I'd like 2023, unless material changes. You will notice, councillors, in the report, there is 2 gifts of hospitality, both being declared. Because it hasn't gone to full council, I will not be revealing the names of the people, but one received tickets for the Worth Valley Railway as part of an hospitality day, and they took it to partake in the hospitality offered, and the other one was for a jumper for personal use and biscuits to share with employees. Them are the only 2. One was valued at £30, one valued at £34.45, both being declared in August 2020 and December 2020. With that in mind, I will propose we accept and ask full council to accept this. I propose. I second Councillor Adams. Deputy Mayor, thank you. All in favour? Thank you. Can I remind councillors that if you are given gifts above, I think it's £30, or in fact any gifts, I would let the office know whether you've accepted or not. Right, let's have a look, see what else we've got. We must have loads of stuff on here. I see Councillor Dowse is attending. Good evening, Councillor Dowse. You joined us at a very crucial part of the meeting, and that is the date of the next meeting is Tuesday the
I was
The Deputy Mayor fallen off a chair laughing. Councillor Mohammed, would you like to come in there?
just going to say, for the sake of Mick, we could kick the ball around before the final whistle so that he's made an appearance.
Yes, we could.
We could just kick the ball around amongst ourselves to let him in, so that
Yeah,
he
yeah.
can attend the
Well,
meeting.
well, he is in now, but he's here for a very important part of the meeting anyway. Before we go to the item 21, and that is, as chair of the committee, I'd like to thank all committee members for attending. And we haven't had an inquiry meeting of P&G this year, which is down to the members attending and being kept in line by. Well, it's usually the assistant town clerk that does P&G or the town clerk, so being kept in line by them. And I'd like to thank all members for attending and making sure that this once again has been a committee that hasn't been inquirate. And the next meeting is Thursday, the 1st of June at 6 p.m. at the Civic Centre, North Street.
Okay, and where's that?
That's it. We will send Google Maps out to let you know where that is.
Okay.
But until then, I'll see you again at the next meeting. Thank you very much for attending. It is now 18:40.